and welcome back to another episode of Awaken, Heal and Transform with your host, me, Francesca Raffa. Today, I am welcoming another beautiful soul onto the podcast. Her name is Rebecca and she is the founder of Sager Soul. I connected with her via Instagram and her mission statement really spoke to me, as it is all about raising our vibrations and raising the vibrations of ourselves individually to help raise the vibration of the planet. So I'm inviting her on here today, and it is my pleasure to be interviewing her to talk about her tools and resources that she uses and teaches in order for us to raise our vibrations that the planet is in so much need of. So let's welcome Rebecca. So hello, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining the Awaken, Heal and Transform podcast today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honoured to be your guest today and look forward to our discussion.
Absolutely. So what kind of drew me to you, other than the fact that we seem to have quite a few synchronicities from obviously our chats that we had via Instagram, but I also just love your mission statement and what you're all about, and the fact that you really want to raise as many vibrations on the planet as possible. So vibrations of people individually, but technically as a collective, we're raising the vibration of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to open this up to you to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit more, or elaborate a little bit more on your mission statement.
Yeah, of course. So I worked for 17 years in a kind of corporate environment, and like a lot of people, I think questioned a lot of the choices I made in life and the things that I was doing. And then over a period of the last kind of 2 to 3 years, I went through this kind of personal transformation and spiritual transformation, where various different kind of tools helped me along the way and things that I explored and got into. And I really, really love to learn. And as the kind of globe went into this COVID crisis, I started to see people that I loved and people around me just start to deal with all these different emotions. You had from one end of the scale where you had people feeling depressed or anxious or stressed or isolated, to people who were, like myself and my husband, started to question, where are we now in our life path and where do we kind of want to get to? And are we in a place where we're going to achieve the things that we kind of want to? And as a result of that, it's kind of Sager Soul was born. And so I had gone through this really difficult kind of 2-year period, as I said, and it started with myself for like a bout of depression. Mm-hmm. And I went heavily then into kind of meditation and feeling how that really helped me to raise kind of my own vibration. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's important to talk about what I kind of see as a vibration. So as human beings, we all have this range of emotions, and obviously certain emotions are linked to kind of a lower energy, depression, anxiety, feelings of fear and so on. And then you have a lot more positive emotions, whether that's joy, happiness, gratefulness, and so on. And so I think it's not to say that any of these emotions are not valid or that we shouldn't feel them. That's not the situation at all. But I think one of the key things for me within Sager Soul is awareness. And it's about bringing awareness of these things. So when you feel in a situation where you're maybe low energy, what is it that's creating that? What situation are you in at that time? And it's about stopping and thinking, right, what can I do to get myself out of this situation? Mm-hmm. So what I started to do from a personal perspective was to look at, what things do I know that kind of bring me joy and make me feel good in my life? And I developed like kind of 5 pillars for myself, which were, these are the 5 things which are running, yoga, meditation, being out in nature and reading. Mm-hmm. And so I started to kind of incorporate that into my daily life and just started to see this shift. So whenever I had an awareness of, right now I'm in like of a low vibe moment, which of these 5 things or which combination of these things are going to help me to start feeling better. And so particularly with meditation, I found that I'd had an interest in it for a long time, but certain elements of it I felt were a little bit maybe restrictive, in the sense that it felt at a point on a spiritual journey I wasn't ready for yet. So my kind of mission now is for the people that maybe are in that situation where they feel that something's not quite right and they can't figure out what it is, and they maybe need some gentle guidance on what different tools they can use to be able to get there, to help those people to sort of, to move on a path towards feeling their best selves.
Absolutely. Definitely from the last couple of years, a lot of people have been starting to wake up. The coronavirus pandemic extremely made people question their lifestyles and start to look a little bit about what it is that they wanted in life, rather than just allowing life to sort of take them, remembering that actually, okay, now is my chance to make the right choices, or to actually even make choices, because some people go through life and they don't think they have a choice. They think that their path is laid out based on maybe what their parents have told them, or what they feel like they've had to do. And suddenly they're on this path of life which actually isn't in alignment with who they are. And so I totally can resonate with what you're saying. In the last sort of few years, for me as well, this is extremely heightened, and I definitely feel like it has been because of what is happening on with the planet, for one, but also just the collective awakening as well that's happening, because the more people that are waking up, it's almost like a domino effect. Slowly people are catching on, and it's like, okay, what's that about? And it's so important that we have people like yourself who can guide with simple techniques, because like you said, some people may want to be getting into this, but they're not sure where to turn, because there is so much out there. As you know, it does become a little bit of a rabbit hole sometimes on the spiritual journey, because there is just so much. And yes, you do need to try as many things as possible, because you need to find what is right for you, but only you can find that within yourself. So meditation is a great starting point. So just tell us a little bit about some of the tools that you would give, or advice that you would give, or guidance potentially for someone that is looking to start meditation.
One thing that I teach my clients is that with a lot of things in life, there's so many different aspects of meditation out there. That you've got meditation and you've got mindfulness, which are two similar but also very kind of different techniques. And a lot of people I hear that have tried meditation say, I did it and it wasn't for me, or I did it and I was no good at it. That's the most common one. I couldn't clear my mind. And so we all have this inner critic that we have, which tells us that we're no good at things all the time, and meditation is no different. And so what I try and do is explore different types of meditation and explain to people, maybe you're having a hard time at the moment with focusing on your breath. Maybe working with mantras is better for you. Maybe movement meditation, whether that's yoga, whether that's walking in nature. So it's about making people aware of what is available, and we are also different, that what works for one person doesn't work for another. And another big challenge I see with people when they start meditation is they go into it and maybe they do 1 or 2 practices and it just kind of doesn't feel like it's working for them. But even as an experienced meditator, there are days when you meditate where you can't get into a flow of it, and for whatever reason it's very, very difficult. And that's what it's about. It's this awareness of the challenge that you're facing, and kind of working through that. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that as human beings, we hold on to so much within our bodies. And people go into meditation thinking, I'm going to have this beautiful euphoric experience where I'm going to come out enlightened and feel, a wonderful calm glow. And in reality, it's not always like that. You dig deep inside yourself and you can kind of release some painful emotions that you maybe didn't even know were there. Similarly, when people do, say, yin yoga, for example, you have those moments like you can do a hip opening posture and suddenly you can be crying and you have no idea why. And it's very much the same in meditation, that your body holds on. I mean, you're a Reiki practitioner, so you fully know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love what you keep talking about around the awareness, because everything is about awareness, and it's not about shunning any of the emotions that we feel or trying to suppress them or trying to hide them. It is actually about being aware of them and allowing them to come up to be released when you're meditating. I mean, I also wanted to, I'm kind of backtracking a little here, but I really wanted to pinpoint on your download for Sage Your Soul. I want to really focus on what that was for you to create this, and why at this time do you think?
Yeah, it's so interesting because as I said, I went on this kind of journey over a period of 2 years. And within that journey, there was a colleague I was close to in the UK. And when I first moved to London, he became kind of like a grandfather or uncle figure to me. And he was the sort of person that if my car broke down, he came and towed me, or he used to take me to the airport. And I hadn't seen him for years. But coincidentally, my husband was working for the same company, and he met this man. And he would come back and tell me stories on his business trips, that he'd met him. And then this gentleman was retiring, and the week after he retired, he went to get some paperwork and died in a motorbike accident. And so this event just kind of shook me to my very core. Even though it was somebody that I hadn't seen in years, it just really made me realize, life is so fragile. And so many of us have these lists of, oh, I would love to do that, but I wish I could do this, but, and we always have this but, and we kind of don't let ourselves go. And so that kind of was part of the catalyst for me and my husband discussing, we were living in Asia at the time, do we move back to Europe, and so on. And that really was the first part of it. And then I went through this whole kind of year of discussing stuff with him and deciding what we would do. And I then went on a retreat program, which was arranged by a therapist that I used to see. And he works with, I don't know if you've ever heard of Wim Hof.
No.
So Wim Hof is a Dutch gentleman, and he also went through his own kind of life tragedy. His wife died when his kids were very small. He used all his energy to kind of take care of them. And as he got older, he started to explore breathing techniques and yoga and all different things. So he developed a specific breathing technique where you kind of hold your breath. So with this retreat, we practiced this specific breathing. And it's also combined with cold therapy. So you go into ice baths and you go into cold showers and so on. And there's this one specific exercise that Wim Hof does where he gets you to do push-ups. You do push-ups normally, then you do a breathing technique, and then you do the push-ups again. Now, for years, I've had a problem with my left shoulder, and whenever I get stressed, I feel it. It's like this weight kind of bearing down on me. So anyway, I do the push-ups and I can't remember, like say 10, 20, did the breathing exercise, and then I was just going like a machine. And I was holding my breath. So imagine sometimes you think, oh yeah, I could only do a few push-ups. And I was doing push-ups whilst holding my breath. And it was so surreal. And then I did way more than I had done before. And at the end of it, I lay on the floor and I just felt this huge flow of energy running through my body and this really strong connection to the earth where it's almost like I couldn't pull myself away from it. And I remember lying there for a while and feeling really emotional, and I could feel this kind of inner presence saying to me, you're just kind of a very small part of this big picture. And it's almost like exact opposites, because on one aspect, you're a tiny, tiny part of this whole universe and planet. But on the other part, you can have so much impact on the planet as well. And so these two kind of opposing ideas can be hard for us to deal with. So that happened. And then we'd made some life choices, decided we were going to move back to Europe. And once I had moved here, I really focused a lot on my meditation practice, a lot of deep practice, really kind of going internally.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of one specific session, I just heard this kind of thing, Saja Soul. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it was. And then for the next few days, every single time I meditated, it just kept coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my husband, I think I need to create something called Saja Soul. And I had done a teacher training course in meditation, but actually not with the idea of that I would teach. It was just something I was passionate about, something that I wanted to learn more about myself. And then as kind of some family members, because of the COVID crisis, lost their jobs, started to, experience depression, I really felt this strong pull to, right, this is something you need to do now. It can't wait. And my husband looked at me like, are you crazy? Because one of the reasons we were coming back was because I was given up work to be with my children more.
Right.
And then he's like, now you suddenly want to do something. And I was like, I can't help it. There's just something in me that's telling me it has to be done now. And I think another thing is we often try and focus on what the end goal is. And sometimes we don't know what that is. And when I gave up my corporate career, a lot of people found it harder than I found it myself, because they put me into this box of that's who you are. And that's what you're associated with. And that kind of significant shift in my own career caused a lot of other people to question, what is she doing? Is she crazy? So it's been interesting to see how it impacts on everybody else, both positive and negative. So
wow, thank you so much for sharing that story. That's so powerful. And I'm like nodding away here because I can just relate to so much of what you've been saying, and the fact that you created Saja Soul from this complete euphoric almost moment that you were having during meditation, and it was popping up, and you just cannot ignore the signs. And that's a huge message for people as well, because again, back to the awareness, if you really go within, we have all of the answers. They're right there waiting to be heard. We just have to properly listen and trust that we know what's best for us. And so clearly you do, because you have a humongous mission here on earth with a bunch of us. And now something that I find quite interesting as well is that I always used to think I had to go at things alone. I was like, oh my gosh, I have this mission. How am I going to do this on my own? But I thought I had to do it on my own. And I feel like I'm starting to realize now that actually we need to come together, in platforms like this, but it's really about being able to connect, collaborate, and create this consciousness almost together, so that we can really help with our own missions, right? Which is another reason why I connected with you, because I feel like we have this similar mission of teaching in a very, very relatable way, because we've been there, we've done the corporate. I myself have been in corporate, and I have gone through that similar journey as you have been saying, where I had questioned my own crazy, maybe myself, thinking, God, maybe I am. But really, you've got to go with that fear that the things that scare us the most are often the main things that are screaming at us for us to have to do, to be able to even discover what our purpose is, but two, to be able to start fulfilling the mission that we are here to do. So I also wanted to talk about your slogan. I don't know if it's a slogan as such, but the mind, body, earth. Okay, I love that, because yes, we are all nature, we are the earth. So I just really wanted to just share that.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that when you spoke about it, and I had a lot of debate with my husband about it when I was thinking of mind, body. So first I had mind, body, soul, and I thought with Saja Soul, I don't want soul in there again. And so I really started to think at the very core of what I was doing, the core belief of why I was setting up Saja Soul. When I mentioned awareness, I have kind of three core pillars. The first element, obviously, which we've spoken about, is the mind. So that involves meditation and so on, inner child healing, growth mindsets, and all these things. The body element for me is the awareness of what you put in your body, what are you eating, what are you consuming, what are you doing with your body? Are you moving every day? And I'm careful not to use the word exercise, because not everybody is in a place where exercise is what they need to do. And I think exercise can become more about a final result rather than the journey. So the body very much also has to be, you have to be very aware of what's going on. And it's things like, do you need to have coffee every morning for you to feel energized? And then in the evening, are you drinking a glass of wine to calm yourself down? It's the awareness of this. What are you doing each day? For me, I'm like a huge sugar addict, and noticing the pattern of I'm having sugar and it's making me feel this way, but later on, actually, I feel a lot worse. So it's just kind of tuning in to how you feel. And then from the earth perspective, that kind of has two meanings for me. One is linked to an environmental aspect of it. The habits that we have, the things that we do to the planet, whether that's through pollution or the resources and the things that we choose to bring into our life. And another part of it is our awareness and compassion for others. Funnily enough, just before we spoke, I saw some video popped up on my feed where there was two people who were going out and they were doing kindness drive-bys. And they were pulling down their window and shouting, "You're so beautiful, I love you." And it's so fascinating as human beings that we spend so much of our time not only criticizing ourselves, but criticizing everybody else. Like, people might look at you and me and say, "They're crazy, what are they doing?" I know a lot of people said to me, "Why are you giving up your job? It just seems ludicrous in the middle of a kind of financial COVID crisis." And so just being compassionate towards other people on the planet and understanding that. So I have this one parenting mantra that I live by since I've had kids, and it is, people deserve our love the most when they deserve it the least. And that doesn't only apply to being a parent. I've seen it in my own life with my partner, with my friends. When situations happen, you can take that and think, "Oh, they think something negative towards me." But often it isn't the case. It says more about themselves and their own journey that they're going through. And so the earth element is also about this understanding of everybody else that's out there. One of the other things that came for me out of the retreat that I mentioned was that there was a group of us all from different walks of life and all in different stages, but we all had our own demons, and they were different demons. We all got sad and we all kind of cried together. And I came away from that experience not only with that sense of kind of connection to the earth, but the need for community, and realizing that I have my own struggles and the next person has their own struggles. And maybe that person that just shouted to me in the car park is going through something that I don't know about. And it's not to do with, it's not my issue, it's theirs. And understanding that, being at peace with it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. It's such a strong message that we can't take things personally, because it is usually just a reflection and projection of how someone is feeling inside. And I think we need to remember ourselves of the things that we go through and how everybody individually also has that, like you said. So really, it's the feeling of, it's even more than empathizing in a way, because the way I like to look at people is I very much see myself in everyone, or I can very easily put myself in other people's shoes, and just a smile sometimes, that's all it takes. That looking in someone's eyes and just giving them a smile of warmth. You don't even have to say anything, but just to know that you are there with them and you are going through the journey with them, because we're all going through everyone's journeys, really. We're all connected. And that's another point that you made about community. And for me, one of my main values is connection. And in order to connect, we really need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable with one another, because, you know, we don't know what's really going on for someone if they're not willing to share it, you know. So not by any means are we making people share what they don't want to share, but if you really want to be seen and heard, you know, you do have to take that initiative with that vulnerability to be vulnerable with others and allow your walls to be broken down to properly and deeply connect. And you'll be surprised, because you know, I think we get a fear around it of automatically thinking about how someone will respond. You know, oh, they're going to judge me, or, you know, or they're going to go away and they're going to go and tell so and so, and oh, my secret is going to be revealed. You know, that's kind of thoughts that go through our head. But when we actually do break down the walls and we're vulnerable with people, there's a liberation, there's that relief from yourself, because now it's not just yours, you've shared it, it's out there. It's almost like you're releasing that secret from within yourself, that suppression, and you're feeling light, and and that person that you're telling, believe it or not, are going to connect with you so much more deeper, and actually going to be with you. They're just going to be with you because they're finally seeing you, you know, the real you that is only you know, really. And that's one of my major teachings as well at the moment, is being able to encourage others to be able to just show up as they are, because as they are is enough. And I know you've probably seen a lot of my stuff and following me on that, but that's one of the major messages at the moment. So and again, I know yours is very similar, and that's why I feel we have some great work that we can be doing together. So tell us, just the last point here, tell us what you have in store in future for Saja Soul.
Yeah, so it's exciting, and as I said, I don't really know where the end goal is yet. At the moment, thanks to lovely Brexit, because I'm a Brit living in Germany, I can't officially work, so it's a bit of a slow start, but I didn't want to let that hold me back. So we will be working primarily with meditation to begin with. As I said, I'm a kind of mother of two, and so my focus is still them, but I felt like I needed to give something, you know, to what's going on in the planet at the moment, and sort of help raise the vibration as much as I can. I am going to start doing inner child healing training at the end of this year, so that's another thing I will be bringing. At the moment, I do inner child meditations, guided meditations, but I will start studying to do kind of more hypnosis regression therapy, so slightly different. Reiki I'm very interested in. So at the moment, obviously, it's a little bit challenging for people because there's so many things I would love to explore, but due to the nature of the environment, it's very difficult. And so for me, it's just about, I love so much to learn and to take in new information, and I can happily read like a psychology book, textbook. My husband thinks I'm crazy. He's like, how can you sleep reading these things? And I get it. I have people in my life who don't want to read, don't want to understand this stuff, don't want to learn about it, but are still interested to know certain things. So my goal at the moment is to take this kind of passion I have and translate it and some of the ideas that I learn into a more kind of digestible, humorous, friendly way. So what you'll see from Saja Soul is some of the kind of nuggets of wisdom I'm learning along the way and passing on to people who are maybe like, I don't want to go and read this huge textbook, but if you can kind of give me a quick snippet on the key parts, I'm fine with that. And that's what I'm going to go and take into my life. So yeah.
Lovely. So exciting. And we are forever learning. So it's good to share all of our knowledge, or just share whatever it is that we're learning right now, because it's going to touch someone. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for birthing Saja Soul. And I'm excited to follow your journey. Honestly, it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. And likewise.